Hey Merfolk fans, I'm Joe. Thanks very much for joining me today. If you'd like to support my channel, please check out the link above to my Patreon page. I'm here with a replay of a Modern Friendly League. This is the first round. Let's go ahead and see how my opening hand looked. The opponent's on the play, winning the die roll. They kept 7 and I'm keeping 7. Basic Swamp, go. This is not an opening that you see too often in Modern. Usually you'll see a fetch land, a shock land, a Thoughtseize, an Inquisition, but basic land, go. A little bit strange. So I drew an Island Walk Lord. Only working with 2 lands here, but it's a very, very good opening hand. Let's see if we get some better idea of what the opponent's playing. Mountain, go. My impression at this point, with all these basics, is... well, I don't even know what my impression is. It's could be some sort of Grixis deck, but maybe budget since it runs so many basics. Anyhow, we'll tick AEther Vial up on our turn, hopefully draw a land. Didn't hit a land. With AEther Vial ticking up, I feel like we're encouraged here to hit one of the opponent's lands with a Spreading Seas, draw a card, maybe we'll hit a land. We can keep getting creatures onto the battlefield with AEther Vial. I figured I'd hit the red. We've got a lot of card draw. I'm not really afraid of the opponent like Thoughtseizing me, or Inquisitioning me, because there's so much value in our hand. So let's hit that red source and see if we get a better idea of what the opponent's playing. So just passing through their turn 3. So it feels like we're cruising to victory in this game pretty easily. I'll take the AEther Vial up to 2 at this point. I need to play a Silvergill Adept. We really want to hit a 3rd land. Another Master of Waves. So we're going to want to activate our AEther Vial during our next upkeep and tick up for Master of Waves. I decided not to put in another creature with my AEther Vial. Opponent's passing through their turn 4. This is wild. At this point, with these lands on the board, I don't feel too afraid of putting out a Silvergill Adept. If it was blue-red out on the table, I'd be afraid of Electrolyze, putting out 2 Silvergill Adepts, but as it stands, not afraid at all. There's another Island Walk Lord. The opponent went to their cleanup, and as actually, while they were making a decision, I started realizing maybe they were actually doing something kind of sneaky over here. And they ended up putting a Worldspine Worm into the graveyard, which just gets shuffled back into their library. So this tells me that they're actually on Grishoalbrand, like Reanimator. So in response to Worldspine Worm's trigger, they could have cast Goryo's Vengeance. But as it went, they didn't. So maybe they don't have the Goryo's Vengeance in hand. But now we know what they're playing, at least. Okay, so on our turn, during my upkeep, as I mentioned, I'm going to put an Island Walk Lord onto the battlefield and tick AEther Vial up. I'm going to cast one of these... Island Walk Lord, swing for 8, and the opponent is super dead on board. They need to win right now. So they're starting by exiling a Simian Spirit Guide to cast Faithless Looting, since apparently it's the only way that they can get red mana. Discarding Grishoalbrand and Borborygmos. And of course, here's the Goryo's Vengeance. And I was super bummed because I had an excellent hand. We had the opponent crushed on the mana situation, and I couldn't believe I was going to lose this game. Opponent attacks, gains 7 life, pays 7 life, draws 7 cards, pays 7 life, draws 7 cards. Cast Goryo's Vengeance again with another Simian Spirit Guide and a land that they drew. Here's Borborygmos. The opponent has 16 cards in their hand at this point. With us at 13 life, the opponent gets to deal 3 damage to my face for each land that he discards. That means he only needs 5 lands in these 16 cards, but I made him play it out. There's 1 land, 2 lands, 3 lands, 4 lands, and 5 lands. And most unexpected loss ever, I think. Kudos to the opponent. Wow, amazing. Look away if you don't want to see the match result. I'm going to click out of the window. So I'm going to be on the play in game 2, and fortunately, we have a lot of nice sideboard tech against combo decks. I took out almost all of my expensive creatures between Kira, Reejereys, and Master of Waves, they don't go after our creatures, pretty much. Master of Waves, just unnecessary, too expensive. They don't have any blockers or anything. We don't have to go particularly wide. And we don't really need to tap too much stuff with Reejereys. So took out 3 Reejereys, 4 Master of Waves, 2 Kiras. That's 9 cards out. Brought in 4 counterspells to supplement my 2 main deck spell pierces for a total of 6 counterspells. Postboard, that's bringing in 2 Dispels and 2 Negates. I brought in 2 Echoing Truths. Those are fantastic in this matchup. If the opponent is getting in with Grishoalbrand, I can bounce him before damage. It's amazing for us because that means the opponent has to find a way to get it into the graveyard again and then find a way to reanimate it again, so it just resets their whole game plan. So 2 Dispels, 2 Negates, 2 Echoing Truths, and then 3 Relic of Progenitus, obviously an extremely strong card against Reanimator. So feeling really strong post-sideboard. We are going to be on the play. And this is a keep. I'd rather 2 of these lands were creatures, or maybe at least one of the lands, but I've got a counterspell, I've got creatures. The opponent thought for a while about whether they were going to keep Blackleaf Cliffs with Faithless Looting. What are they going to discard here? Grishoalbrand, and passing the turn. Unfortunately, that means that I just have to pass my turn. I have enough lands that I know I'm going to be able to play creatures next turn while leaving up Dispel, and I'm absolutely not going to play a 2-drop and let the opponent go over me with Agorio's Vengeance when I have a counterspell in hand. The opponent is paying red and black here for Engineered Explosives on 2. Not the end of the world. We have a lot of creatures, and drawing Mutavault is actually really nice because that's another creature. It dodges Engineered Explosives on 2. And I'm just going to go ahead and run out a Lord here. Opponent plays a Mountain and just passes. So for my turn here, I'm going to go to combat, try to get in for 2 with the Lord. And it looks like I'm probably, having drawn a Silvergill Adept, just going to play the Mutavault and the Silvergill Adept. It's okay running that card out into Engineered Explosives because it replaces itself. Could draw us another counterspell, just draw us more creatures. Okay, Aether Vial is actually not terrible because we can play it and still leave up our counterspell. All right, what's going to happen here? So, no action. On the opponent's main phase, they seem quite scared of Aether Vial. Even before I can get 1 counter on it, they're going to Ancient Grudge it. All right. And it looks like they didn't have a land drop, so they chose to destroy my Aether Vial rather than hold up Engineered Explosives. This means I get to get in for sweet 8 points of damage, assuming the opponent doesn't have a Fatal Push or Lightning Bolt or something. Well, they didn't have anything, so they went down to 10, and I'm not really interested in playing any more 2-drops. So, Bloodstained Mire and go. All right, so pretty easy choice here just to activate Mutavault. Try to get in for 8, but pretty clear that the opponent's just going to destroy my couple of 2-drops. Now note that it's not really a blowout here at all because Silvergill replaced itself, so the opponent's really trading Engineered Explosives for Master of the Pearl Trident. It's just a 1-for-1. So even though it looks like a sort of terrible board wipe or something, it wasn't really that bad. Opponent's going to go down to 8, and we're going to follow up with another Island Walk Lord, leaving up 1 mana for Dispel. And with the opponent cracking that fetch land, if we play any of our lords out next turn, we're gonna have lethal on the table. So let's see what they've got. Exiling a Simian Spirit Guide, tapping their mana out. Okay, so this looks like they're going for Plan B. Goryo's is Plan A. Through the Breach is Plan B. This is pretty neat art, actually. I think that's like the Locust God or something. This is the masterpiece, Through the Breach. And even though this frame is really ugly, I kind of like it a lot. It's just so different and funky. So we've got the Dispel. We've had it all game, and we've been leaving mana up all game, and that's going to do it. That fetch land did them in. So just jam a Lord and swing for 7. 3+4. Opponent is dead. So a pretty straightforward game 2 for us. Look away if you don't want to see the match result. I'm going to click out now. All right, back for game 3. The opponent is going to be on the play. That's always a little bit scary against combo decks. This is a really, really nice hand. Aether Vial is going to let us keep up mana to cast these counter spells while still getting creatures on the table. The only thing that can make it a little bit better is if we had a second blue source so that we could potentially hold up both of these counter spells in one turn, but that's asking a lot. Opponent mulliganed to 6, and I'm pretty sure they put a card on the bottom of their library with the Scry. It looks like they almost F6 through their turn, but then caught themselves and played their Scry land. Now they also scryed to the bottom with this Temple. Another Island Walk Lord, a lot of gas. And at this point, the only thing I really would like to see is another blue source. We've got all the other pieces of the puzzle. So I'm going to play one of these Cavern of Souls named Merfolk, and since we don't have a Cursecatcher to interact with their stuff, definitely not going to tap out this turn. Swamp go. Opponent might be on a pretty poor mulligan here. We'll definitely tick up our Aether Vial. Drew Mutavault, which is nice. Dodges any board wipes they might have sideboarded in. But again, I'm still looking for a second blue source, though not strictly necessary. Mutavault's also great. At this point, it looks like we're pretty safe to tap these 2 lands to cast a Silvergill Adept, revealing one of our lords. Because we can still hold up Dispel. Looks like the opponent might have missed their land drop on turn 4. I'm going to put in one of my Island Walk Lords. We've got these counter spells in hand, so not really afraid of whatever he might have in hand. There's that blue source. It's pretty nice. So I'm just going to get in with these guys. Not activating the Mutavault lets me hold up both counter spells, but I am going to put this other lord into play with Aether Vial. Now, if they had something like Anger of the Gods, it's really scary, right? Because they could 3-for-1 us, wiping our board. But the Negate has my back in that case. If they play anything on this turn, on my turn, I've got Dispel for that. So the opponent just took the 7 and went to their turn. They still have 7 cards in hand. So turn 5, they're tapping out for Bontu's Last Reckoning. I guess this is a nice versatile card because it destroys all creatures, like whereas Anger of the Gods can't kill 4/4s or bigger. But it just seems so bad, right? Even if this resolved, the opponent's not going to get to untap next turn. Anyhow, we know it's not going to resolve. I've got a Negate, and that's pretty much the game. I've got 14 points, if you guys haven't done the math. 6 plus 8. Before I even put any other creatures onto the table. So, yeah, that did it. A very, very surprising loss in Game 1. I totally didn't see it coming. But then pretty solid wins in Games 2 and 3. I think Merfolk is generally favored a little bit against these kinds of combo decks like Goryo's Vengeance and Ad Nauseam, those kinds of things, because we have access to as many counterspells as we want in the sideboard. We've also got Aether Vial to help us get creatures out while holding the counter magic up. Mutavault dodges any kind of board wipes. Bontu's Last Reckoning, Anger of the Gods, Engineered Explosives, any of that stuff. So yeah, our threats and answers line up really well against their threats and answers. So that was round 1. I'm currently 1-0, beating Grishoalbrand. Let me know your thoughts. Please, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Check out my Patreon page if you haven't already. Please subscribe and join me in the next video where I'll be replaying round 2 of this Modern Friendly League. Thanks, guys. I'll see you there. Bye.